Okay, we are live. Hello, everyone. My name is Carolyn McGee. I am an intuitive connector, a speaker, author, and podcast host. I am so excited to be here today with my friend Margie Hamner. She recently retired from a 30-year HR and leadership development career, and she's transitioned from empowering today's leaders to empowering tomorrow's leaders, which are your children and grandchildren. And she has got an amazing story about her Amazon best-selling children's book. So Margie, thank you so much for being here with me.
Thank you, Carolyn. This has been an honor, and I'm excited to talk with you and your audience.
Thank you. Yeah, it's fun to be with other really extraordinary women. I just love the way that the energy expands when we support each other. So tell me a little bit about like your career and how you walked away and moved into this, what somebody might say is like a huge pivot.
It was a big, huge pivot, and thank you. I guess it was about last year around this time, I realized I just was finished with uh, leadership coaching, leadership training in the corporate space. I guess I just sort of culminated. I just woke up, I think it was in January, and just said, I'm just done, and I knew that I just wanted to shift to do something else. So I started that transitioning of moving away from that into something else. But at that time, I really wasn't sure what I was going to be transitioning into.
Yeah, and what was the magic that happened that allowed you to say, hey, it's kids. I'm going to go from maybe grandparents and parents into this whole different area. What tell us about that?
Yeah, well, I was in that mode. I had joined a mastermind group, and I had hired a coach who was helping me through that process of transition, which a lot of the times we do. And I had an unexpected experience in a Zoom call like this, where I saw we were doing some energy work. The instructor asked us all to close our eyes and to breathe and to put our hands out to the screen and to, send positive energy to the other folks that were on the call, people from all over the world, little boxes. And I was thinking to myself, okay, I'll go with this. I wasn't quite sure like what we were doing, but I was going with it. And the next thing you know, I wasn't in this room that you see behind me. I was in a field with children wearing much different clothes. I was taking out wearing my professional clothes. I was more bohemian hippie clothes. And I was holding this ball of light and I
Mm,
was sharing it with children. And they were taking this ball of light and they were putting it in their hearts around in a circle. And then I was back in this room.
wow, I
And
have
I was
chills.
like, what happened to me?
What a gift, though, to be able to have such a strong vision, and then have the courage to implement it.
Well, I honestly didn't know what that meant. I mean, I was, and I didn't tell my husband for like months. I could tell them my coach who was facilitating this, who
Yeah.
this was not unusual, but it was unusual for me. So I sat on it. I think I contemplated on it for several months. And then it wasn't until the beginning of the next year that I actually realized that I was going to write a book about it. I was going to write a book about giving kids this light. And that's where I came up with the idea about doing a children's book.
Oh, that's great. And sometimes you weren't quite supported in moving your energy from corporate, the type of work you were doing into the children's thing and being an author. Tell us how you overcame that and kind of give us a little bit of a feel for the dynamics, because I think what you did is extremely brave and can be really helpful to other people that are contemplating a big career pivot.
Oh, yes, I make it sound easy. It really wasn't easy. And I probably should back up even a year before that. Um, well, let me back up even further. I always wanted to be a writer when I was a little girl, and I used to watch a TV show called The Waltons. And
Mm,
I know I'm dating myself, but it was a TV show where it was a family of seven children, and I was a child of seven children. I
mm.
wasn't the oldest. We didn't live in a little country house like they did, but John Boy was a writer, and I wanted to be a writer. And when I was probably 10 or 11, I wrote something and presented it to my family, and they laughed at me. And that's what siblings do. They laugh, they tease, they tell you you're ugly, you're stupid. I mean, but I chose to take it the way I did, and I shut down my dream. So fast forward 50 years, okay, because 50 years, I have suppressed this dream of mine, and I had forgotten that I had the dream. So when I had this vision and I wanted to write a book, I had a lot of limiting beliefs. I had a lot of negative self-talk saying, Margie, you can't do that. You're not an author. Remember, all that came flooding back, and I had to overcome all that. And that was difficult.
Yeah, so do you have a specific or maybe a couple of tools that you can share with people that you worked with? Like I do a lot of tapping when I'm working through my limiting beliefs. That's one of my go-tos when I get stuck in my energy. I actually do what I call tap and rant. Wrote a chapter about it in one of the books. It's where I just process by speaking and walking and tapping. So tell us about, what did you work through? What worked for you? Because I think people love to learn about different
Mhm.
ways to move stuck energy.
Yeah, well, a lot of it, and I love that if it's tapping, I do tapping, but I wasn't doing that in this case. I probably should have. A lot of it is just like really acknowledging that limiting belief, and turning it down like a volume. Like it's there. You can't pretend it's not there, but you can kind of turn it down and just like, say, I hear you, but I'm not going to listen to you. Or give it a silly voice, like a Daffy Duck or a Porky Pig. I get kind of a silly sound. So then you don't take it seriously, or some of the things that I used to when I was doing leadership coaching with my clients, we all have limiting beliefs. We all have something that holds us back. And I think the biggest thing that helped me with the book was having people to help me with it. So I was really nervous. I was, it's funny how things work. I'm in a museum club, and was invited to this museum club from a woman that I met at my husband's high school reunion. I'll try to make this quick. She turned out to be an artist. She was a woman about my age in her 50s, early 60s, who wanted to always be a writer but never did because I'm sorry, she wanted to be an artist but never did. So I met her in this museum club. She invited me to the museum club after I met her at my husband's class reunion. Her husband and my husband went to school together. And then, long story short, she became the illustrator for my book.
Oh, I love that.
And then the woman who was in charge of the museum club had a daughter who just graduated from college with a creative writing degree, and she didn't have a job. So I'm like, hey, maybe you could be my editor, because I was just a little unsure of my writing. And so I knew I had a good story, but I wasn't quite sure how to put it all together. So I had the support of this group that I was in to help me write it and have the illustrations done. And then later I found a publisher, someone in the Tony Robbins community, because I've been in a lot of Tony Robbins courses, and who helped me publish the book. So I didn't do it alone. I had so many people that just showed up, like God just put them in my path, at the right time.
Yeah. And that's so beautiful to be open to see, a lot of times, sometimes I think we get so focused on the end game that we forget to see all the bounty around us, the things that are coming in, the support that we have. So that's wonderful that you saw that. That's great. Now, how are you putting this book out to the world? Like, how can people find this book?
Yeah, well, the book, it's called, The Magic Ball of Light Summer Camp, and that's how I decided to make the setting, because I saw this vision, as these kids go to a summer camp and they get this ball of light, and it's really everything I taught in leadership to corporate America, confidence, self-esteem, emotional intelligence, some of those types of things. And so I was able to self-publish, and I published it on Amazon. So the book is available on Amazon. And it's for children. So it's a children's book, although a lot of people have told me that it could really be a roadmap for anybody. So as a mom or a dad or a teacher or a grandparent, caregiver reads to the child, they can also feel um, that empowerment also.
Yeah, yeah, that is great. So, what else would you like to tell somebody, like if, I don't know, somebody's contemplating a big change, what, like if you look hindsight, right? You look in that rear view mirror,
Mhm.
what maybe could you have done differently or wish you would have done more of that would have helped you kind of go through this process a little bit quicker?
I think if I go back 50 years, I would, and that's one of the things I have a story in the book where the little girl is literally I wrote a different ending to my story. So she didn't listen to her siblings who laughed at her story. She became a writer. So and that's really one of my missions, is for children to read the book, or and again, we all have different, read the book to be able to say, you know what, I don't have to, my teacher laughs at me, my parents laugh at me, my sister, my brother laugh at me, they don't support me, but I know in my heart that I want to be a baseball player, or I want to be a singer, or I want to be a writer. So helping kids not bury that is really my mission, to be able to have that courage to be able to say, hey, I always wanted to do it, and do it. And not, I mean, I see it over, and you probably see it over and over again. I was reading a friend of mine that's on a networking group, who was a gentleman who was in the army. He served our country. He did a wonderful job, but now he does woodworking. I mean, he was an airline. He was, I mean, he never wanted to do not that he didn't want to be a GI Joe, he was, but he wanted to always do something with his hands, with woodworking. So if we can all honor what we're truly, our purpose is, younger in life, I think we'll
Yeah.
be happier.
Yes, absolutely. And I think there's so much power in the and versus the or. When I was a child, I was the logical, analytical, math and science kid, and my sister was the writer and the creative. And we were put in lanes, and um, I was discouraged from getting excited about writing. And when I first started writing, I had to reprogram myself, kind of like were talking about, that I can be both. I can be logical and analytical, and I still am, and there's a value to that, but I can also be creative and write. And so letting people know that it's and you don't have to just stick in that one category. And it might be 50 years later, like you just mentioned. I think that's so powerful, Margie.
Well, I hope that people don't have to wait 50 years. I hope because
Right.
we see it now. I mean, I saw it lately. I watch the news today. I'm thinking, thank God I'm not in HR anymore, because the world is just different. And I think this is a time for people. I think during COVID, they realized, who did they really want to do? What did they really want to do? And people made big changes, in
Yeah.
that time of quiet, in that time of solitude, in that time of hibernation. And now I think people are going to be rethinking that again. So I'm so glad that you've created this community, or you're part of this community, where people can be extraordinary. And it doesn't matter what age you are. You don't, it's never too late to reinvent yourself.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And to re-embrace aspects of yourself. I love that you had said earlier, what did you love as a child? What did you really want to do? And even if it doesn't become a business for you, it can become just a supportive part of your energy, something that makes your life more fulfilling.
Absolutely.
So what else do you like to do besides the writing? Like what other aspects of yourself have you pulled out in this shift?
Mm. Well, I guess recently I've really taken up swimming. So I really love to swim, and I've gotten into doing I guess a few years ago, I joined a triathlon, or I signed up for a triathlon. Very nervous to do it because I had never done anything like that, but I found a way to do it as a relay. So my sister did the biking, my friend did the running, and I did the swimming. So we did a triathlon,
That
but
is so
I
awesome.
didn't. So I mean, so there was a way that one thing that I've learned in life is that just sign up. Once you commit, you sign up, and you don't know how you're going to get from here to there. I figured out a way to meet my goal of the triathlon by figuring out a relay. I didn't even know that when I signed up, but I realized that I don't have the greatest knees to be the running. So it worked out. So really just don't be afraid to try new things. Take a risk. I was telling my husband the other day, I said the only thing in that experience was I just didn't want to be the last person coming in from the swimming. I didn't want to be the dead last lady coming out of the triathlon. And I wasn't. I was towards the end, but I wasn't last. So I felt like that was my win.
Yeah, that's a huge win. And I think it celebrating the accomplishment of what you did too is really powerful. And I noticed that, I spent many years in corporate, and I know you did too, is in that environment, we were often encouraged to just complete a task and move on to the next one. There was no celebration in the middle. So what are some of the ways that you celebrate your successes?
Oh, and it's so important that, yeah, I love that you're saying that. It is important to celebrate, to celebrate with after that triathlon, we had the family, everybody over, my family came and, cheered me on. After this book launch, I hosted a party for everyone who helped me. I paid for the party for them, for us to celebrate, my illustrator, the people who I have a wonderful networking group of people who all stepped up, and they were so generous to help with the food and the balloons and the music and the party. So yeah, you got to have time to celebrate.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it helps reset the energy too, where, we've moved and we've accomplished something, and then we've celebrated it, and allows us to have this clearer energy field when we're stepping into the next big task.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great. So is there any final words that you would like to share? Just any thoughts that kind of come in on
Yeah, just
your journey or anything?
it's just I just hope that, people can learn or hear and be hopefully inspired to do whatever they want to do. And also to inspire your children and your grandchildren to be whoever they want to be. Just like the story you shared, our parents don't mean to say, Carolyn, you're the smart, logical one, and your sister, oh, you're the, we see things and we say things, and we don't know how they land with kids, whether, so to be able to allow them to be who God gave them to be. I believe everyone has a purpose in this life. And so open it up, ask them, help them explore, to be who they want to be.
Yeah.
And that would be a great gift.
Yeah, that is a beautiful gift. And I think giving us all permission to let go of that, like you said, that you can go back and you can rewrite the ending of something that, didn't make you happy at the time. And we all have that ability. It's just such a beautiful gift to start each day over. My angels many years ago gave me this statement of you get to start over with each breath.
Mm, mm.
And it really has been life altering for me. And it's such a simple statement, but it's true. We make choices every time we breathe. We continue on. We decide how we're going to spend our time, spend our energy, who we're going to interact with, and how we're going to be. So, yeah, I love the fact that you went back and rewrote your story. That's so beautiful.
Well, thank you so much. I love that. I've thought about every day you wake up and you can start again, but I hadn't thought about it literally in every breath.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a
Really.
powerful, powerful shift for me when I look at it from that perspective. So I'm sure that people have been commenting, and Margie and I will go back and check out your comments and reply to them later. We thank you so much for being here with us. And Margie, when you're done, if you could go and put the link to your book, your Amazon book, that in the chat so it's easy for people to find it, that would
Okay.
be fabulous. And I just so appreciate you spending some time with us here in the Be Extraordinary Network.
No, and thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I look forward to connecting with your group further.
All right, sounds wonderful. Okay, everybody, thank you. Bye-bye for
Thank,
now.
bye.